is Marley Beavers, and I'd like to take a minute to tell you about prayer in school. Can you think back to a time when you were in elementary school and y'all would have prayer before you went to lunch? I remember as a kid in 2nd grade, we would have our little thank you Lord for this daily bread prayer before school and before lunch. And in this, one day our teacher said, hey, we can't do this anymore because a law was passed a long time ago that you're not supposed to have prayer in school anymore, and we can't lead it as your teachers anymore. You're welcome to do it on your own, but we can't lead it for you. So with this being said, I would like to tell you a little bit about when prayer was taken out of school and the development of children who are exposed to prayer and the legal movement to get prayer back into schools. So the first thing I would like to tell you is when prayer was taken out of school. So in the 1960s, before then, prayer and Bible reading was very common in school. In 1962, in the case of Engel versus Vitale, this is when it was introduced to the world. There was a case where a parent wasn't happy and the school-sponsored prayers were no longer allowed because it violated the First Amendment right. So that is why prayer was established to be out of schools, and that is when it happened, was 1962. The second thing I'd like to discuss is the development of children who were exposed to prayer. So Yale did a study where they interviewed 1,703 students between the 6th to 8th grade range, and they asked them in this study about their home lives and also about the violence they were exposed to. I'm going to read you an excerpt out of this study, and it says, Pierce says children who witnessed or experienced more violence also reported having behavioral issues such as shoplifting, vandalism, theft, lying, and skipping school. Those children who reported their parents who were involved in their lives or prayed, read religious literature, or watched religious program reported fewer conduct problems over the following year. This study shows being exposed to Bible or prayer in the home showed that there was less misconduct in these children. So wouldn't it make sense that if we had prayer in the school, that it would give those children who don't have prayer at home a chance to actually be exposed to goodness, and then maybe we would cut down on crime and misconduct. I'd like to read you a verse out of Proverbs 22:6, and this is my first little demonstration thing. And it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And this leads us into my next point, talking about the things we have to do to get it established in the law. So the third thing I'd like to talk to you about is what we need to do to get prayer back into law. So as we discussed earlier, the Engel versus Vitale in 1962 abolished prayer in school that is led by the teacher. So with the Yale study, it showed that these kids who were exposed by prayer and religion, it caused less problems out of that child in the future. This in turn keeps jails with low numbers, and we keep turning out good citizens to cut down on violence and to cut down on misconduct, even in school. The channels that we would go to get the bill into law would be to take it to your state representative, and then it would be voted on by the state, and then hopefully it'd be moved up to federal, ending up in Congress where they would vote on it again, and then hopefully it being passed as a law to have prayer back in school. So my next video I'm going to show you as a demonstration is just this cute little rinky-dink video that I found, and it kind of shows how a bill becomes a law.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." And he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait refuge.
Okay, so that's just a cute little example of what we have to do to get your idea made into a bill, and then your bill goes to Congress and goes to representatives for it to be voted on. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my speech, and I hope you will join the movement to bring prayer back into school, not only giving children a piece of God in their lives, but also cutting down on criminal and violent activity in the world.